Matt, you want to take us off?
Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. I think things are going great is the high level thing. We're learning a lot as we go, moving really quickly, and folks have been absolutely great about coming up with questions, pitching in where needed, being really responsive. And I think that is sort of the mode we have to be in for this project. You know, things are going to keep coming up. This workflow by the end of all this is probably going to be completely different from how we started. And I think that's just to be expected. Some high level things. So those of you who've been involved in the QA process and in the form field labeling process know that a lot of questions have come up about how all these forms go together, especially because for those of you who are working on 209A and 258E forms, these aren't really separate forms. They're more of a package that go together. And so as we get this first set of forms through the pipeline, it may feel like there's a little bit of a lull as we try to kind of circle the wagons a little bit and figure out what is the best way to move into the next part of the workflow. Do not think that means that we are anywhere near done with needing help. We're definitely going to need a lot more help, but because we're inventing this process as we go along, we do occasionally have to take some time to step back and think about how to move forward. The other thing is that we're definitely going to get more forms coming down the pipe that need to go through the start of the process. I was just on a call with other consumer debt lawyers today, and folks are already talking about drafting sort of boilerplate motions that aren't court forms, but are things that a lot of consumers who maybe miss hearings because of COVID-19 related reasons are going to want to use to get new court dates, things like that. So I think we can expect that sort of thing to come in. In addition, as we move the current batch of forms we're working on through the next stage of the pipeline, people who are comfortable on a very rudimentary level with DocAssemble along the lines of the little training I did yesterday are going to be more and more needed. So I've already had a couple people reach out to me who are interested in getting dipping their toes into the waters of DocAssemble, and so please continue to reach out to me. I also know people have other things going on, and I've been really blown away by the commitment that folks have shown already. So you know, don't be afraid to tell me, hey Matt, I've got other things going on in my life, because I know everybody, in addition to the craziness of the current situation, has just their whole normal situation to deal with right now. And I also want to point out that Caroline Robinson of the Mass Law Reform Institute has posted a lot of helpful what we're calling context cards on the Trello board that I'm actually going to dive into at some point this afternoon to just get a little more familiar on the 209A process, because I think that will help. For anyone who has the time or the interest, I think that'll help in terms of answering a lot of these questions about how all this stuff goes together. So it's by no means required reading, but at all. But I just want to let people know that it's there, and that Caroline is like, I mean, the expert on this stuff in the state. So you know, we're really lucky to have her, and we should take advantage of her resources. Yeah, I think that's all that I have on my list right now, David.
All right, and let's get to things that blockages people have.
Anyone else wants to? Yeah. You cut out a little, David, so can you say that again?
Oh, let's just get to people's blockages. Can we help with anything people are having problems with?
Yeah.
One question I had, I'm working with the Domestic Violence Institute at Northeastern, who are working to do a rapid response for the clinic with the law students. And so I've been sort of in touch with them about what sort of DV related forms are already going through. So what is the process to submit more forms? Because I reached out to them if they have any other suggestions of forms they see their clients using, to send them along to me, and then I can pass it along to the Trello board, I guess. But I remember in the first meeting, Quentin, you showing some sort of Google form where people were putting in the suggestions. So I don't know if there's a link to that or something.
Yeah, actually, I can add that as a card at the top of the Trello board. And I mean, what do you think, David and Matt? I guess there's no reason to have that public.
No reason to
It'll have
not.
your name attached to it, and obviously we'll try to sort through it. One thing that might happen is people will submit duplicates, but that'll be a step we have to process and clean those up.
I threw that in the Slack right now as well. Henry, the other thing, so just so people know, I think what we're thinking for the DV workflow is that one of the things we're going to do is have it so that an advocate, you can call someone up, they can talk to you. The advocate can basically fill out the form. When they're done, they can then send a link to the person to sign it.
Right.
And then the advocate can forward that on to the court. So just work that into your workflow, or get feedback on that workflow, right? So it could either be send it to the person and they fill it out and you sort of help them talk through it, or it could be call them up, you do it all yourself, and then the advocate sends it off.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks for being that go-between, Henry. It's really important that we're just...
So is your idea that you're always gonna have to have an advocate if you want to file a 209A?
Not always have to, but that is an option.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Sorry. I thought it sounded like that was included.
No,
and I think it was Tyler had a question about the what do you call it? The TRO. I can't remember what it's called, verification complaint or something. And he said he broke the form into 4 pieces about the notice of order. Yeah, I think you were talking about that yesterday. What's happening with service? I realize these are emergency orders, but then 10 days is going to be gone immediately.
Yeah, I think this is something the court is still trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with that.
Okay.
And it's something that's sort of beyond our pay grade.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up again. We have a task force meeting on Thursday. So I'll bring up service again, because that's we've brought it up before, but I'll push on them to try to get an answer.
Because I'm thinking, so for example, with that notice of order, which goes along with the verification, it's not verification, I can't remember what it's called, something with a V, but it's a housing TRO. When the court they get filled in PDFs, right? Are those saved, so they can't fill anything in, right? So I guess what I'm saying is when you file that TRO, there is a notice of order attached to it. Whether that should just be part of the template with not fillable fields that goes to the court, because then they've got the notice of order right there with the actual complaint, so they don't have to create a separate one, which they wouldn't do normally. And then if they want to, they've got the software if they want to make it fillable and fill whatever they want to do. But I think I would recommend that they go together. And I'm trying to find my calendar because I had my questions on my calendar.
Yeah, Carolyn, I think that the way we should handle that is we're going to automate these kind of standalone, but that seems like one where we should have 2 packets that are in 2 forms that go in one interview.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And we'll just fill in the caption for that draft order.
Yeah.
I think the housing court's practice is actually just to write the order in a blank page part of the form pretty often.
And Quentin,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Quentin, on a high level, is it the case that even though a lot of these forms go together, that we're going to be able to package them on the back end? Is that the best approach, especially given the workflow and the time constraints that we have?
I think it is. And then I think when we're you brought this up on the Slack earlier, Matt, I think when we're having 2 or 3 forms that are all part of the same process, we have to be extra careful to make sure we're matching the variable names on all the different steps. So we don't ask someone the same question 2 different ways. That's really the same thing on the same process that they're trying to do.
And I think that one of the ways that the subject matter experts can probably be most helpful in this part of the process is educating the folks who are working on this, right? So the context cards that Caroline has provided, Kate Berry is in the process, or maybe already has posted like a Google Doc that lists forms that go together. So that's super helpful.
Yeah. Where's Kate's, is that in, she put a link to it in Slack?
I will put it in, Matt has it. I'll share it in a few minutes. I was just having somebody else look it over and make sure I hadn't missed anything.
Okay, that's great.
And Caroline, I included the checklists you gave on the 209A stuff. I just put them all in the same document.
Yeah, I think that
to
makes
make it all centralized in one place.
Yeah. I think it might, for some people, it might be helpful. I'm not sure about how many are housing forms or parenting time forms and things. So like you did the parenting time as well. So you have the motion, the affidavit to support the motion, and proposed order for all of that stuff.
Yeah, I have like a generic, for motions, I haven't like generally broken them out by type. I just have motion, affidavit, proposed order.
Okay.
I did a separate impoundment one because technically that has like the different requirements, and I reached out about starting to get boilerplate language on like custody, child support, parenting time from some of the lawyers who volunteered.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So hopefully we will have that too.
But those are the parenting time sort of set of forms. That's going to be in the next scrum or whatever.
Yeah, I think the emergency motions have to, I mean, I think that's, I don't know the technical stuff, but it seems like that could be maybe complicated because it's that one generic motion form that's kind of going to need to have, I don't know, different boilerplate language that can go in. Like, I don't know if it's like.
As with many of these things, and Quentin and David will disagree with me maybe, but it's both more and less complicated in certain ways.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have like boilerplate language that would apply to different, sorry.
Yeah, since it won't be a PDF, that part will be a lot easier.
Well, I added that probate court has like a blank generic motion form. I put that somewhere, but there's not really a generic, I couldn't find a generic affidavit form. I don't know if there is one.
I don't think there is, not for probate and family court. We have one. But
yeah, I took that one and I added that to the Google Drive too.
And Kate, if you can help me remember, I'll show you what can be done with Word documents in DocAssemble, because I think that might give you some different ideas on how to approach this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're about at time, does anybody else have anything that they want to bring up? Any questions? Any roadblocks?
Matt, can you just talk about? I'm not quite sure how to do these cards in Trello for context. So do we do one card for a set of forms? Because I think we were talking about, you were talking about something else, and I said, oh yeah, I'll put this in a card as well, but I don't know how you connect the context card to, because it's a separate card in that list. So
my vote personally would be like collect all of the context resources in one place.
On one card?
Yeah, because I mean, sort of like you're saying, our split of these documents into different forms is really artificial anyway, right? So is it really going to be possible to do it on a form?
Okay, so you'd have like a 209A context card, and you'd have a 258E I mean, they're very similar, but they're different. So you would have, those would be different. And then for parenting time, you'd have a separate context card.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear different things from you because, like, again, you're the expert. But it seems to me that the message I'm hearing, which it makes sense to me, is that the split we're doing is artificial, and so it would make sense that to link it up in that way would be hard. So
that would be okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So why not group the context in a way that's actually more natural to the subject at hand?
Is Dorna's document able to deal with these? Because there's Adobe Pro and then there's the Live Cycle, and that's what the courts use Adobe Live Cycle. Is Dorna's document managing with because that's where I think Maeve was getting hung up yesterday.
Did you solve that problem? I think Henry, you had the same issue too, right? Did you use the PDF unlocker or did you use the print to PDF?
I did Documate PDF unlocker and it worked fine.
Oh,
I
fantastic.
then took it out of, I did the Documate and then opened it, once it was unlocked, opened it up in Adobe Pro.
Okay.
Acrobat Pro. Why are there so many versions of it? I never know which one I'm supposed to reference.
Okay.
Okay.
I maybe just have one more question if we have like 2 seconds. I see that there's a couple of forms underneath uploaded form to wizard, download generated file. Are those now waiting for something to happen, or are people working on those, or are we supposed to move them across quality check? I know Matt and I spoke about getting involved in doing the second quality check after it had already been uploaded, but I'm not sure if there's a gap here or what's happening with these cards.
So my vision for that part of the cycle would be if they were already moved over to where you're talking about, Maeve, that they would have been updated to the wizard already, and we'd have the text file hooked to the cards. And
yeah, I see it here. For example,
is it there?
I'm just pulling up one here. Say the housing TRO verified complaint.
Yeah.
No, I just see the PDFs here actually.
Yeah. So it looks like it probably shouldn't be on that list just yet.
Sorry, this is Hadley. So when I talked to Matt earlier, we were under the impression that once we quality checked it, we would move it over to the wizard.
Oh, Hadley, you're absolutely right. I'm sorry.
So basically what Liz and I are doing, since we're the quality checkers at this point, is we are reviewing the documents, and then once we quality check them, we're moving them to that wizard bucket, and at that point it shows that we're going to upload them into wizard and get the text, but we're first having the information that comes with the wizard be checked by our legal people, so then we can make sure the language is correct and it reflects the documents properly. So once that happens, we'll upload it into wizard and get the text, and then we'll make a note of it so people are aware that it's like ready for the next quality check, and we can move it over.
Yeah, and thank you, Hadley. I'm sorry for that. And Quentin, the reason we decided to do it that way is because it seems like there is this intermediate step where we need to do some to figure out how to complete the wizard process.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. As long as, so basically this is going to be, we might want to move the policy, or maybe we don't need to. Maybe this is an incoming queue basically that we're going to use.
So that is to upload. So these are forms to be uploaded. That's the
ready to upload form.
Yeah.
I'll change it. So ready to upload to wizard. So I did notice on that form, that one really specific one, something that might come up in other contexts too. So I noticed that the field labels were set to like plaintiff tenant instead of user or plaintiff, which is a literal thing it reads. But if you know housing, you know that the person who's filling this out is always the plaintiff. And we want to have something that will let us use those questions we already wrote, if we can. So I would say on this form, I would rename wherever it says name of plaintiff, the tenant, I would put that to user, and same with the address and the phone number and so on. So those fields should be linked back to user, because the user is always going to be the tenant.
So David, I know like Kate and Caroline have been a huge asset to us in terms of being able to spot issues like that in real time. I don't think Quentin has the bandwidth. I don't think Esme has the bandwidth. Do you or anyone else have an idea of someone we could recruit? Unfortunately, housing folks are busy right now advocating for the moratorium, which still hasn't passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know Laura had suggested someone had
Gordon Shaw.
Not Gordon, although he might be able to do something, but I'm trying to remember who. I got an introduction for someone today and I told them to send it over to Slack. Let me just check here.
I know Kate also has housing experience, but I don't want to put too much on her plate.
Yeah, one thing.
Laura Kamara. Do you know Laura Kamara?
Oh yeah, Laura's at the Southeast Justice Center.
Yeah, she said she was going to
Justice Commission Housing Working Group. So
yeah, she said she was excited to start. This was last night at last night, and then I told her to go over and look on the Slack. I don't know if she's on the Slack yet,
but I think I saw that name.
I didn't see her join. So okay.
So we should.
All right, I'll get in touch, David.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she should be a check, and I guess she needs, whoever does that needs the context of knowing one of our
Yeah.
questions, quality check questions, is do the names of the fields match up with the role that someone plays when they're using this form? And if it can be user, we want to make sure it's user. And that probably comes up on some of the family law forms too, although there it's easier to be like the plaintiff or defendant, but still the person filling out the form is going to always be.
We had the exact same issue, or a very similar issue coming up, which is why Hadley had the great idea of parking these things in this queue and waiting for expert advice as opposed to just uploading them straight to the wizard.
Okay, so maybe we really need a new list, which is expert review, to make sure labels have the right context.
Frankly, the most efficient way would be experts doing the wizard potentially, but that might not be feasible.
Quentin, why wouldn't you have during the process of the interview, you would have a question that would ascertain, so you'd have user, and then as you went through the questions, you'd figure out whether they were plaintiff or defendant or filing on behalf of plaintiff.
No, Abigail.
And then the plaintiff would just inherit that value, or
That would be that'd be a really great way to do it. I can show you that form for the exact thing that I'm talking about, which is totally something that for us to figure out. So let me see. It's not obvious the right way that we should do it, but
I mean, in that way, it'd be easier for the people. I mean, as you're going forward and you get more volunteers, just put everywhere it says plaintiff, put plaintiff. Everywhere it says defendant, put defendant. And then the doc assemble interview figures out who goes into that. So you don't have the.
So here, this label right here, where it says plaintiff dash, that should be plaintiff, I think.
Yeah.
Where it says here, name of plaintiff, the tenant, it should
Same
be
thing.
user. Nope, it should be user.
So
Also,
why would you?
So, I'm just going to jump in for a second. Just to respect people's time, if you need to go, that's totally fine. If you're interested in this conversation, you're more than willing to stay, but you shouldn't feel like you have to stay. I know people have other stuff going on and we're running over. Sorry, folks.
And then, and afterwards we'll have a quick introduction of the form generator.
Yep. That's the way I would do it anyway, and there's no definite way you need to do, but you do have a limit of you can't use the same field name twice, so we can't actually just use plaintiff in both places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we can't use defendant in these two places. We have to say defendant in one and other party in the other place.
But you and Maeve came up with a solution for that, right? With your double underscore.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you have say username full, and then the next one will be username full __ one.
Yep.
But that's not going to count that much, I don't think, in terms of names and stuff, because it usually, it will first be the name of the plaintiff, and then throughout it will just refer to it as plaintiff thereafter.
That's absolutely
you won't
right.
have to keep adding in the names. So it's only in very rare forms that you're going to have a situation like that. But it is a good solution, I think.
Yeah, and then I guess that's another part of it, which is if we know the role that they're playing from an earlier question, we already have two names for them, which is plaintiff and user other party, if we know which role they're going to play in that form.
And
Can I ask a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on a complaint for protection from abuse custody order, and there's a court copy and a probation copy. So they're identical forms, but should I still should I still not have any duplicate fields names?
So that's a really great thing for us to run into. So what I would do is put it into two PDFs, and we'll generate them both at the same time. And if they have the same field names, we won't ask the questions twice.
Okay, I'm sorry. So split it into two PDFs.
Three PDFs. You mean three?
It's only two.
Oh, I thought you said probate. You got the complaint that goes to the court.
I have a
and
court
probation.
copy and a probation copy.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
So I would split it into two PDFs and use the same field names in each.
Yes.
Okay.
And
All right.
I think it's helpful context, and Quentin, forgive me if I'm wrong, that this duplicate field thing is a limitation of how the PDF labeling system of DocAssemble and the wizard interact. on the
No, it's a limitation of Adobe Acrobat.
of Adobe Acrobat. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a limitation of Adobe Acrobat. So part of why Quentin is doing this __ thing as a convention is because he's going to write that out in the end, and so that when you enter a value for defendant, it is going to fill in all those places, right, Quentin?
Yeah, we won't ask the person who's filling out the form the same thing twice. We'll just ask them once, and we're going to fill it in the PDF using the same value.
Right. And so ironically, we'll be taking out these separate field names on the back end. It's just a limitation of Adobe Acrobat's technology that makes us do it this way.
So PDF Converter doesn't have that problem, as far as I know. You put the
It does really, like invisibly, it
Just
adds like
masks it.
a hashtag to
second.
it. You just can't see that it's the
All
same.
right.
And
Tyler has a question. I don't want to. Sorry.
Yeah, Quentin, with the form that you just had up for the TRO, there are 2 signature fields on the bottom of that second page. Are we automatically filling in the signature twice, or do we need them to actually sign twice? And if so, how do you want to handle the variables in that field?
On the TRO, is it for plaintiff tenant twice? Oh, I see what you're saying. Verification and the signature.
Because on an Adobe signature field, digital signature field, it won't let you use the same variable, same field name.
Let's adopt the same convention. So where we use the 2 underscores and then a number, if you're going to have the same field for signature as well.
Okay. Thanks.
And to be clear, whenever we're doing multiples, right, your first one is going to turn into __1. We're not going to have one that's just the original variable name we decided on. Do you think that's right, Quentin, or should we do it another way?
I don't think it doesn't matter.
Right.
So you can use the name without the underscores just fine.
That's the first one.
As the first one.
And then thereafter you go __1 and then _2. I mean, you're not going to generally.
It won't even matter what number you put. You could put 10. We'll still replace it only one time.
Okay, good.
It's just something that we can look for, and it has to be unique on the PDF side that we can replace and just get rid of when we're generating when we're filling in that field.
Double underscore is what's going to matter. It's Quentin's going to be looking for in the code, right? Or is it going to be double underscore number?
Double underscore number is what I'll look for.
Yeah.
And then I know that you mentioned this in the Slack, Matt, but should we maybe update the variable on GitHub, that variable list? I think it's
yeah. I can do that.
And I guess we already ran into 2 different things that we didn't know about ahead of time. So the signature is a duplicate. The user's name might be a duplicate. Maybe we should just make this convention work for any field that you need to put on the same form twice or more. But probably twice is the limit.
I'll do that. I'll just add like a kind of a disclaimer at the top. I'll figure out the best way to do it.
You could also do it in where you have the bullet points about some rules for naming fields. You could add that, say, after, you've got the checkboxes, the variables, the, keep length of variable names. You could add it in there, if you're having duplicate variables, then you use that convention.
And I'll admit, like this kind of stuff is not necessarily my strong point. So maybe do you want to take a crack at it, like editing the
yeah, I can definitely do that.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Any of these things won't be the end of the world if we can't get them right, because our process is we do an automatic pass and then someone's going to go in and change things. But the more we can get right up front, the better, I think.
Yeah. In the end, the wizard's going to spit out something that is very helpful, I think.
I hope so. That's the goal.
I'm confident in your abilities, Quentin.
Well, it does something already, but hopefully it's useful. That's the part I don't know. I know it's definitely useful. I don't mean to discount it.
Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Yes, Henry.
Just to go back to Charlotte, the form you said you were doing, I think we're already starting to run into some duplicates because I've already gone through and done that one on a different card.
No.
That was something I was going to mention. I saw that I had only noticed that there was duplicates because of the fact that I'd seen in the quality check column that one of the forms that had been split, the original combined form was still on the forms to be the incoming form column. So I was wondering how we were going to maybe make a note on that card saying this has been split up and is now already being processed. One thing that I've been doing is if I've started labeling a form, I've actually just put on the card, like I'm labeling this so that no one else starts labeling it while it's still in the incoming column form, incoming form column. It's really late here, sorry.
We could also use the label if that's helpful. That's something you can see right away. Like if you grab a card, don't just put, well, your name will be on it. That should be a signal, although there's different stages of the card, each card.
Yeah.
I think your idea of just putting a comment is a good one, actually. That's probably the simplest.
Yeah. And I think people...
So should I continue with this duplicate?
Probably not, it sounds like. I will also go through and try to cull duplicates. Thank you for flagging that, Henry.
I was looking for them and I didn't see them. So I'd love to see what's done so far, because I guess Hadley's working on the 209A, and Henry, you said you've already done the 209A.
I've done the 209A complaint with children under 18, as well as the affidavit disclosing custody proceeding. Yeah.
Okay, so
those two are on the same card, and so I kept them on that, but I can split them as well.
And which is that on the fields at which column is that in?
That is in fields added, and it's titled Form 209A Extra Form for cases involving children under 18.
Oh, I see. You got the 209A complaint with children under 18. Oh, so you've got...
There were two forms on it, the page 2 of the complaint and the affidavit, and so there are two new forms with the fields added.
Okay, so that's page 2, but Hadley's working on page 1, isn't she? I think so the thing about 209A is it's actually a whole bunch of pages. The page 1 is actually the main 209A complaint. If you have children, you fill out page 2, which is what you've done here. So I don't think Hadley's working on the same page you are. But I didn't see page 2, so I talked to Matt and said, where's page 2? And he added it on the incoming forms. Hadley, I think what Hadley's working on is, okay, this one.
Was it Charlotte?
Yeah, Hadley's working on a different one. Wait a minute.
I think, are we talking about me? Because my forms are different than Henry's. I just checked.
Yeah, exactly. You're working on page 1. And page 1 is the complaint and the affidavit supporting, talking about domestic violence. And that's actually page 4 of the real form. But so you have the affidavit in yours?
I don't think so.
Okay, so what we're missing is the affidavit. So you file a 209A and you file an affidavit that describes the abuse that you've experienced. If you have children, you also file the form that Henry's talking about, but but you also with that form, page 2, which is a separate form, even though it's called page 2, you also have to file an affidavit disclosing care or custody proceedings, which is a separate form. But Henry, you've done them together, which is that's perfect, I think. So you guys are not doing duplicate forms, but I think we have 2 extra cards on the incoming because I didn't see Henry's card going. So yeah. Matt, those cards that you just added, I think we can delete.
Okay, perfect. See, this is why we need the experts here.
Well, I'm never an expert, but
Disagree.
Okay. Sorry about that, but
super helpful. Thank you. Call duplicates. All right, anything else?
Can I rename, Henry, your card so we're clear about what the name of the form is?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. I think I'm
we need
done.
to keep saying it all the time. Thank you all so much for your help. I've been blown away. That this is we could not do this without you. Yeah.
We need an affidavit because Hadley hasn't got an affidavit for the 209A.
I think it might be on there at some other point in the process, but I'll add it to my list to check.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Matt, just a question: where do we stand compared to the list that's sent over from the courts about the documents they had prioritized?
You know, David, that list might
We'll
have
talk about that at our meeting afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, David. Cool. Anything else? Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. Quentin is are you doing your training on the wizard now, Quentin?